Hello Art 12 and welcome to your curly hair demonstration. So for curly hair, like she has a detailed contour outline, so I would do the background first and then do the hair. All right, we're gonna start on padding with 6B pencil. And hold on, let me sharpen my pencil while I'm talking to you. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna kind of avoid the curls a little bit, but we're gonna put in the darker layers like behind the curls and wherever you can't really see a lot of detail. But again, for curls, you're probably gonna have to look in the mirror. You can get another picture, you can put some filters or adjust the contrast on your original photograph to kind of see the curls a little bit better. So you do want to kind of follow the top layers of chunks and have that all drawn out before you start. Something under my hand. All right. So I'm just going to start out at the top, like where it kind of grows out of her hair. And I'm going to put in, I'm avoiding the curls a little. She has a highlight on that one. But I am putting in the darker value kind of flowing between them. So the top of her head just is darker in general. She has some subtle kind of highlights, but we can always erase that back out. So I'm holding it towards the end. I'm using more of the side of my pencil. Okay. So you want to kind of like work in a section so you can tell where you're at. And I'm trying to like I'm like kind of just laying it on there, but I'm trying to maintain like the direction of it. And if it's not perfect, it's okay. We're going to do lots of layers of lines anyway. Okay, that actually flows down into a curl. Okay, so I do that everywhere. I would do that all on the other side too. And it does look weird at first, very shapy. Okay, with the big blender, and you don't want to lose everything you drew, so kind of adjust your pressure. And you want to blend in the direction that the hair is kind of going a little bit. So if it's curved, I'm kind of like curving. And I'm doing a once over. Just try not to lose, into her face. Try not to lose my detail. So once over with the big blender, then I come back with the medium, get a little bit closer to the face, closer to the edge of the hair, kind of start filling in some of those little wispy pieces overlapping the background. Okay, so like everything, it always looks bad when you start. Okay, so now with 6B, I'm going to look at when you have a curl. This is the note sheet that's in the Google Classroom of the procedure notes for shading. So it looks like that on that very first page. The back page is hair. So if you want the curl to bend out, look like it's bending or curving, you need to keep the highlight in the center part where it's bending or curving out. So we're going to avoid that, but we're going to add in our darks. So I am going to do some short kind of sweeping lines. And even though her hair is like, there is a lighter area here, it's not as light as I have shown. So I'm just going to use less pressure. Okay, don't worry about how it grows out of the head just yet, because we're going to add that with a mechanical pencil. Okay, so I'm going to kind of, like there is a highlighted piece there. I'm going to go ahead and put some, oh, it's not that thick at all. Actually, I'll make that much thinner. Okay, so even if this, so this area is bending out, so I'm going to add a little kind of fading underneath that piece and a little bit in the part that curves. And I'm going to pull up into that chunk of hair. So if I want this piece to look like it's bending out, like here I'm not going to really add anything, but here where it's bending in, and here where it's kind of tucked underneath coming down, and then I am going to add some hairs into the negative space as well. So that's how it looks like it's bending out. So same thing over here. I have this chunk. There's a piece that comes in front of it. Pull up, and then where it's kind of bending in. To where it comes out. So I'm keeping that highlight right there. All right, same for this piece. Actually, I'm going to add a couple strands. So that piece in there. Let's see, this is the highlight piece. Okay, so like this piece right here, I want to make it look like this piece is kind of bending out. So underneath it, underneath the curve or the bend, I'm going to pull up into the highlight and kind of redefine the edge. This piece, let's see, where does that go? Is this all one piece? Oh, it is all one piece. Okay. So a couple in the highlight, but I'm going to keep that piece light where it's bending out. So same for this one. A darker fading down, darker fading up. And then keep that highlighted piece. So then when I'm in that area in the negative space, I go ahead, and you might have to like actually connect your pieces a little. So you could work on a whole chunk at a time. Like I have this piece that comes all the way down. And then it curves here. And so it's kind of bending out. So you need to do a really good, the first layer is the most important layer. If you can get a really good first layer, the second, third, and fourth layers won't take so long. I always say 2 really, really good layers, and then you're just refining for the third and fourth layer. Okay, so let's see, let me look at where I am. Kind of re-sketching what I had in there. Okay. Okay, so I want this piece to look like it's on top of this one. So therefore I'm going to go a little bit darker with the piece behind it. Pull up, pull down. Actually, I don't want to lose so much of that. Erase a little bit of that out. I'm going to keep that part light. So in order for this little piece, I'm going to kind of go up into the curve. So it looks like it's bending in there and bending out there. Sorry, I'm losing some of that. I'll erase. Okay, let's see. Okay, this piece. And even if it's not perfectly looking like your picture, if it's close to your hair, I mean, your hair changes daily, so you just want to get it to look like your hair. Okay, so don't forget to add into the negative spaces. And then we'll add the little extra hairs like over here in the next layer. Okay, so then with medium blender, you're going to blend in the direction of the lines. And I'm still trying to avoid, I'm going over the highlight parts a little bit, but I'm still trying to avoid them, especially if you have lighter hair, you're gonna wanna avoid them. Her hair's, I mean, her highlights aren't that light because her hair's dark, so I don't want it to be white. I don't want her to look gray. We don't want you to look old. So I only add a couple hairs into that negative space. Okay, so I say we have 2 really good layers. I would do this all over the whole head. Now we're going to take it off padding. If you want a hard surface, then we're going to switch to mechanical. And I like to use this eraser, but you can use the mechanical eraser as well. I usually use this one at the very end and this one for the in-between layers. So every time I add a layer, I'm going to erase out the highlights. So I'm going to erase out where it bends, and then I'm going to fade it up and fade it down a little bit. Erase out where it bends, fade it up, fade it down a little bit. So now it looks like it's bending out. And then if you want to add a couple, you know, streaks just for variety of value, you can. Okay, where it bends out, and I'm going to fade it up, fade it down a little bit. You also want to look at where you have more highlights. She has more highlights in this side than this side, so I just make sure this one is obviously more highlighted. Okay, let me focus on up here. Oh, actually, let me do a little more here. She does have a highlight along this side. Okay, so it kind of comes over, and then this part goes that way. So short kind of sweeping motions, and I'll go over and do some bigger ones. Okay, I feel like I'm ready for mechanical. All right, so I would say 2 layers of mechanical. 1 layer we're gonna blend, the top layer we're not. And so this one I am gonna pay a little closer attention to how it's growing out of the hairline. Any little baby hairs, like she has a couple like little baby hairs to add, you would add those. I think it's kind of swooping up and over. So it's like drawing like really big eyelashes, kind of. Okay, now I'm gonna pay a little closer attention where I'm actually putting my lines. And so she does have a highlighted piece that comes over. I'm gonna kind of go around it a little just for now, but I feel like it's thinner. Like this one too is thinner, much thinner. Okay, so along the edge, I'm gonna kind of like flick and then curve over and bring it in, so it doesn't look so weird. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the same kind of process. I'm gonna go back over my curls. Actually, she has a little bit of a lighter value here. Kind of does. Where does that sink into? Like here. Got piece on top. So if you notice something, add it in and then just kind of fade into my lines. So you want to take your time to a really good mechanical pencil there. And I'm gonna do a couple lines over the highlight parts, or like here we have some midtones. Okay, so now this is when I'm in this layer, I am gonna pay attention to like what it looks like on the outside where it overlaps the background. So she has like a piece that kind of comes out. She has, this is what makes your hair look natural, not weird, and I call it like helmet head. Not weird and like a cartoon. You want it to be actually. She actually has like a piece. Okay, this is actually a curl that kind of wraps out. So I'm gonna do. I would pay pretty close attention to the overlapping of the background. Okay, let me make sure I got in here. I feel like I didn't do a good job before. This takes time. I feel like it's the most fun hair to do. It does take time, but it looks awesome when you're done. And your hair can really make or break your drawing. Like if you feel like you did a pretty good job shading, don't skimp out and be like, oh, I just need to hurry up. Like, do a good job. I mean, if this is the only time you ever take art, this is the only self-portrait you'll probably ever do in your whole entire life. So make it good. And then I would add the ones that are like overlapping the face, like some of her little hairs overlapping the face as well. So I'm just adding in layers where the negative spaces between the chunks of hair are. I'm kind of redefining the edges, like not straight up outlining, but outlining and fading in so it doesn't look like real, just outlining. I am adding a few marks into the highlights just a little, just especially if your hair is not very dark. Okay, it's like the ends, it's just some like random ends. just gonna fade it into. So do like here, like she's like there. Okay. So you're going to go back over, and I would go over the highlights a little bit, and then kind of just touch blend along the hairline. There we go. So you want to do short kind of swoop. I never got any, I didn't do any lines on this one. Sorry. Hold on. Just noticed that it looks rather plain. So this is the last layer you're going to blend. So if you see any white areas, touch over them, except for like what's going to stay a shiny highlight. But we are going to erase out highlights again. So, and then these hairs are just kind of like touch over just a little. So it's getting darker. I feel like this part needs to, I need to do some shorter lines in here. It looks, compared to down here, it doesn't look as good. All right, so with the mechanical pencil eraser, I'm gonna go back and I'm looking for where her lightest values are. So she actually has this piece is the one that continues. Let me erase that, where it curves out. It's like a top layer. Put a couple lines in it. Just kind of blend it in a little bit. Okay, so erase out in the lightest parts. And you can squint your eyes and make them fuzzy. Take a look where are the lightest parts, or if you like I didn't draw that piece in there, I can add it, like overlapping on top a little. Some little pieces. I'm going to do a once over, even though it's not as light in here. I'm going to add some darker value back on top of it. Okay, so you touch blend over your highlights once again. And then you're gonna do one last really good layer with the mechanical, and then don't blend. So I would do a mechanical over this whole entire thing. And I am adjusting, like her highlights in the top of her hair, you can barely see it in this picture, but they're not as light as what I have them. So I'm actually gonna tone them down a little bit just by going over them. And I would gently, in the highlights, especially like here, and I'm holding my mechanical pencil like where the clip is, just to do like some gentle kind of line. So it looks like strands of hair and not just like an erased out area. So even in the highlights, you will go back and put like a few touches of line. Just a few to make it look like hair. So I'm also looking for like really dark parts that I can go back and so take your time, do a whole layer of mechanical pencil on top, but then don't blend. Unless it looks super liney and you need to dull it down a little, I just wouldn't blend. And up here, I just need to darken it. So I actually might touch blend over this stuff up here because it's darker in the picture. Okay, there you go. There's curly hair. Good luck, have fun. Remember, 2 really, really good layers. 3rd layer with mechanical, blend once, erase out your highlights every time, and then the last layer of mechanical, don't blend. So you see all the strands of hair.